Greetings and salutations, everybody watching this video. Do you want to get started in AstroTurf racing? Gonna tell you a few key parts, things you need to do to get started in AstroTurf. This question was brought on to me by RC Vitals on Instagram. I actually didn't think about it. I actually didn't think of it until he said it, and I was like, dude, that's a great idea. I'm gonna make a video about it. So here I am making a video about it. So yeah, and these are just tips from me. I'm not a professional driver. I'm just a guy that enjoys the hobby. AstroTurf is like a weird hybrid. It's like a hybrid between dirt and carpet. Carpet is super, tons of traction. You turn the wheel a little bit and you're gonna turn. When you take a turn in carpet, there's not a whole lot of pushing that goes around. There's not a whole lot of sliding the back end of the car, sliding around the turn. With dirt, there can be a lot of that. With AstroTurf, it's kind of like in the middle. The car slides a little bit, but it's also high traction. These tips should help you navigate that. Okay, I'm gonna start off with saying that 3 things that you need to do to get started with AstroTurf racing. One of them is get a gear diff. You'll thank me later. You cannot get a ball diff tight enough to prevent from the outside wheel from unloading. So let's say we are turning this way. This wheel right here will unload as the weight shifts. This wheel will start to slip and you'll need power going to here to get you around the corner faster, and it won't be happening with a ball diff. You'll just be sliding and you'll hear your lap times just getting higher. Get a gear diff. I got a gear diff in here. I finally got one in my B5M. I got 5,000 oil, 5,000 diff oil in it. Just make sure that it doesn't leak before you start your practice. And when it does leak, just make sure to stay on top of it to keep it rebuilt, to keep fluid in there. I actually should rebuild my gear diff soon. The next thing is to get the right tires. You can ask the people at the track that you're going to. I am confident you cannot tune a vehicle properly until you have traction. If you're sliding all over the place, you just can't tune because you're just sliding everywhere. So get tires, get the right tires that you need. I personally use Schumacher mini darts in the back and stagger cut low profiles in the front. I just got the normal Schumacher foam in there. I did use the J Concepts. The J Concepts are good. They, I think they might last a teeny bit longer than the Schumachers, but they're a little bit more expensive than the Schumachers. That's got to be something you got to feel out. If you want to spend the extra money, maybe get a little bit longer life. But yeah, the J Concepts were good. So the last thing that you got to do if you want to hit the track tomorrow is to lower your ride height / stroke. Now, I've gone over ride height before if you've watched my Tune Your Ride series, but I don't think I've done anything with stroke. So stroke is the distance between the bottom of the shock to the bottom of the spring collet. This is not screwed in all the way, so this is not the full this is not what it really should be, but that's the stroke between this and this right here, which will also affect droop, which I talked about in my How to Tune Your Ride series. You want to lower your ride height just a teeny bit, especially if you're coming off of dirt. Lower your ride height, raise your droop, shorten your stroke. All of those things is what you can accomplish by putting limiters on the insides of your shock bodies. I'm currently running 18.8 millimeters in the front and 25 millimeters in the back. Yes, that is the stroke distance. You'll actually be able to take turns a lot faster if you do that. Things to check after a turf race. There's not much different from running on dirt. After a turf race, you want to check the tire bead. You want to make sure that there still is a solid, that your tire is still glued to the rim, just so that it doesn't fly off in the middle of the race. That's something you definitely don't want to have happen. Thing 2 you want to check is suspension mounting areas. So you want to check for the B44, these screws on the bottom of the shocks would always come undone, would loosen up after each race, so I had to check those. All shock mounting, shock towers, I would even say check the hub carriers and caster blocks. Last thing to check, if you're running a buggy, make sure your wing is tight. You don't have to worry about this too much with the newer buggy series from Team Associated. Actually, I think TLR are using screw down buggies as well. If you're running body pins to keep your wing down, make sure that you have the proper amount of shims to really make sure that your wing doesn't go anywhere. Because one race, my wing was loose and oh my goodness, my car was all over the place. It was not good. So those are the 3 things that you should probably check. Just make sure to check the car before each time you go out. And heavier oil, especially if you're coming off of dirt. At least for my setups, my dirt setups were very light. Like, I think for my B5M, my dirt setup might have been like 35-30 or something like that. Or 35-32, very loose. With this one, it's actually 37 and a half, 32 and a half. So a little bit stiffer. Springs are stock springs, both front and rear. I'm not sure what that is. That's orange and something else back here. So yeah, something that I do to help with, I guess you could say, cornering. 2 things. One, I got sway bars for this guy. Huge difference. So much speed I can carry into the turns. Night and day difference. So definitely get yourself a set of sway bars, front and rear if you can. But that's not technically necessary. I've raced quite a bit without sway bars. Another thing is to flatten out the shock mounting as much as you can. It's on the most inner hole here and the most outer hole down there. Find out that makes it a little bit more stiffer, I guess you could say. I don't know, it's more responsive or something in the turns when I do that. I see that the pros pinch in the front, but they keep the back the same. I'm still trying to figure out how they do that, how they can make a car handle the way you want it to with that setup. But that's personally what I do, and that's what a lot of the guys at my track do, is that they flatten out the shocks as much as possible. And you may find that your car will traction roll. That could be in many different things. It could be your ride height is too low, your stroke is too long. But something that you can try is adding, I believe it's negative camber to your wheels. So it's set to 0, as much as 0 as possible, and they're not pitched in. But you should be able to slap a new pair of tires on your car with the right setup and whip around the track with no traction rolling. Roll center, huge part making this car handle the way it does. I have 1 millimeter of ball stud spacers. Okay, I have 1 millimeter of ball stud spacer up here, and I have 0 back here. And I find that I can really snap the car around the turns with a higher rear roll center. I can really just whip the car around than if it's lower. There's that. Gearing is currently 2075. I also added a brass bulkhead mount in the front to add a little bit more front weight, give it a little bit more steering. Battery position, I have one hole in the back. So the battery is pretty much all the way forward, almost all the way forward, except for one hole that's in the back, if you know how the B6 mounting works. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope this video is able to help. And if you have any other suggestions about video ideas, let me know. I'm really, I do look at the comments and look at you guys' responses. I do look at the comments, okay? So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week or at the track.